Welcome to 5 and 5 from One Stop Co-op Shop, where I discuss 5 key design decisions in a game in about 5 minutes. I'm Michael Kelly, and today we're looking at Degenerates from Goblin Co. I've heard about this game for a long time, that it's this great adventure game that's kind of flown under the radar and not too many people have played. And I, like many people online I've seen, have mixed reactions to the art. It's very colorful, potentially jarring for a lot of people, and I wasn't sure how I felt about it. But I did want to give the game a try because, again, I've heard that the gameplay itself is excellent. The question is, does the real experience live up to the hype? Let's find out and get to the list. The first thing I want to talk about is the variety in enemies that you fight, because combat is a pretty big portion of the game. Enemies are quite varied here, with huge swings in their amount of health, the damage they cause, how much armor they have, and all these special abilities. It definitely makes every combat feel varied and exciting and keeps the game fresh. The negative here is that to achieve that variety, they have keyword overload in many cases. They don't explain what each power does on the card, you have to check a quick reference for that, and that means especially when you're learning the game, you have to go back and forth between the reference and the game frequently. The annoyance certainly fades after you've played the game 5 or 6 times, the powers start to become second nature, but still it's a bit of an unfortunate drawback to these wonderful enemies you face. We're coming up on another mix point, and that's how your characters level up and are varied throughout the game. On the positive side, characters have majorly different stats, which make them very good and very bad at certain activities you'll do. Also, there's a wide selection of skills, and each of those skills can be leveled up again, so you really get a sense of progressing your character in the way that you want to do it. The negative here, though, is that both the items and the skills give very incremental bonuses. It's very rare in this game to find anything that gives you an actual +1 to any of your statistics. So because of that, even though you pile up a lot of new loot and skills, you don't actually feel that much stronger than you are in the beginning. Next we get to a full-on pro, and that's the dice resolution system in the game, especially in combat. Make no mistake, this is a really luck-driven game. You are rolling 2d6 to determine basically every action you take. But first of all, they've got a nice mitigation mechanic in luck. You can spend 1 point to reroll any single die, and you can do that over and over again to make sure you pass that really tough test. I also like the way that most die rolls determine not only whether you succeed or fail, but to what degree, using the highest die of the succeeding roll. This means that having a bonus to your trait, like having a higher strength, not only makes you more likely to succeed, but means you might do more damage or accomplish your task better. Combine that with the simple but still really fun mechanics in combat where a single roll of 5 dice determines your defense and your attack and basically everything you might need to do in a quick way. And I find that even though I'm rolling dice throughout the game, it's a lot of fun and always feels exciting and still feels like I have some choice and control. Another mixed element, but leaning pro, is the scenario design and the overall campaign. Although you can play the game one-off, I love that the campaign is this overarching story that gives you tons of choices of where you go. Depending on what you do, you can become a savior, or a tyrant, or a complete villain. You really have a lot of control in what you do, more than I think I've seen in any adventure game of this type. Also, the scenarios tend to be pretty varied, with some being heavy on combat, some being heavy on exploration, forcing you to go to different parts of the world. While the scenario design is generally good, some of them feel a little bit too repetitive, like forcing you to stay in the exact same area for fight after fight to accomplish some goal that just tends to take a while. But that being said, I am ending with a huge pro for this game, and that's the immersiveness and the feeling of living in a breathing world. I don't think I've ever played an adventure game in all my years of gaming that makes me feel like I have as much of an impact on the world and the state of it, and also that I'm seeing a world coming together whether or not I make a difference. Every turn, the danger level in some part of the world will increase, making things get worse and worse. And these danger levels aren't just an abstract concept. If you go to that location, it means you are much more likely to get into a fight, and for that fight to be way more dangerous. But then by the same token, by having those fights, by going to those dangerous parts of the world, you can actually make them safe again. You can defeat all the monsters roaming around. Also, as a brief mention, the encounters you can have when you have combats are just wild, with crazy things happening, like monsters trying to open up portals beneath your feet as you fight. It makes you feel like you're in a crazy world, perfectly fits the setting, and really makes the game come alive. Overall, I think you should believe the hype for Dungeon Degenerates. The art style is going to be a really polarizing thing, and I think some people might just not want to play the game because of how it looks. But if you dig underneath that art, you have an adventure game that is filled with variety, has incredible agency for the players, and has some of the best immersiveness in the overall world that I've ever seen. That being said, if you don't like dice-based resolution, this game is full of it, and the mitigation is only minor, so you might not like it if you're looking for a ton of control. Also, be aware that some scenarios might not be as good as others. They have 20 in the game, but some are weaker. And also, do be prepared to have to look up a ton of keywords and effects. If you've played the game a few times solo before you show it to your friends, I think you'll be a lot more successful. Good gaming, everyone, and I'll see you at the next stop.